This comes from my journal, November 21st. I called this one God's Story. When I sit with the way the church often tells the story of faith, it usually comes in 4 parts: creation, fall, redemption, restoration. I understand that structure. It's clean, it's familiar, it's the story I was handed for most of my life. But when I really sit with my own life, the love and loss with Marianne, raising Shaylin on my own, the quiet victories in my work, brewing beer, training my injured foot back into running, I realize something. That traditional story explains some of my life, but not the deepest part of it. Because when I look honestly at my story, the first things I see isn't what's wrong, it's blessing. I think we lose sight of that, but I don't think we ever lose it. I see God's fingerprints everywhere, in the way I was shaped, in the way I love, in the way I provide for my daughter, in the creativity that shows up in beer recipes, long runs, and even solving complicated HVAC problems in custom homes. That feels like Genesis 1 to me, not Genesis 3. I don't think brokenness is our starting point. I think blessing is. Don't get me wrong, the world is wounded. Humans hurt each other. I've lived enough life to know that's true. But I don't believe what we think went wrong is the first and defining truth about us. The idea that humanity is fundamentally deprived, it just doesn't match the God I've experienced. I've seen too much provision. Even in a year when my business was running negative income, I've seen God rebuild parts of my life after losing Marianne. I've seen my heart open again when I thought it might stay closed, even when things didn't unfold the way I'd hoped. What I see now is a different way of telling the story. Creation, God begins with blessing. Forgetfulness, we lose trust in that love and we start to hide. Jesus shows us what God is actually like. A healer, a companion, a restorer. And restoration is where we join God in healing the world, slowly, patiently, one life at a time. When I was a kid, the story sounded more like this. God made you perfect. You sinned. You deserve punishment. But Jesus saved you. So now, be good and tell others. That version of the story was built on guilt, on trying to measure up, on always wondering if I was one mistake away from disappointing God. It shaped a lot of my fears about love, about being a husband, about never quite being enough. But the story I'm discovering now looks different. God begins with blessing. We start living disconnected, and it hurts. Jesus reveals God has been like all along. And we get to join God in being brought back to the life we were made for. That story feels more honest to me, more hopeful, more like the God who actually walked with me these past years. The God who still sits with me in the hard places and still reminds me my story isn't finished. In fact, it might be the place this whole story finally makes sense. That's where I'm going next. These are my journals, tracing the story as honestly as I know how.